Oh, it's so quiet. How weird. Kia ora and welcome to Creative Mornings. And it's wonderful to see you, even though it's been wild weather out there. So thank you so much for making the trek in from wherever you've come from. I hope everything is safe and well at your homes. We've got Lucy here today to kick us off with a beautiful karakia.
Kia karakia tātou. I rangi e papa, tui te ai o nuku, tui te ai o rangi. Kia puta ai tēnei taura, kia puta ai tēnei tauira. Ki te taha tū, ki te taha wātea, koro noa, koro ora, uie tai kie.
Cool. So, who has never been to a Creative Mornings before? Oh, cool, some new faces. I know you guys are. So every month around the world there is Creative Mornings in about 270 chapters, which are different cities, across around 70 countries, which is very, very cool. And each month we have a different theme. And so our theme this month is Crossroads. And my wonderful co-host Claire is going to just read you the synopsis for Crossroads.
I just wanted to preface it this time by saying I found Creative Mornings when I was at the crossroads in my life, creatively and in other ways. So yeah, it's just a theme that really resonates with me, so I'm glad to share this with you today. We all reach turning points in life that change the course of our destiny. Should you break up or give your relationship another chance? Accept that job offer or strike out on your own? What's the best way to go? Continue straight ahead or turn left? When you're faced with a crucial decision, there's no map that shows where the consequences may lead. And sometimes you only recognize a crossroads when you see it in the rearview mirror. No wonder that in folklore and mythology, crossroads represent a gateway between our mortal coil and the supernatural realm. An in-between place of transition where worlds collide and anything can happen next. So how do you decide which way to go? Just pick what feels right, because there's no wrong choice, only different journeys to where you're meant to be. Thank you.
Woo! And also a huge shout out to our global sponsor. So we have a wonderful local sponsor, but our global sponsor is Adobe. And I think a lot of us use Adobe on the daily for our work and for our play. So they have made us a little, well, Creative Mornings HQ has made us a little video that shows a bunch of people sharing their Adobe. So this is all around the world, different events that are happening just like ours, which is really cool. So you're part of a global community. And then this is us. I don't know. Who was at this event? Yeah, some people, yeah. Fantastic. Look, you're right there. So that was the event at the, was it end of last year with Pam? Yeah, fantastic. Cool, and so as I mentioned, we have local sponsors every month that make sure you are well fed and caffeinated. So we have 6 Barrel Soda for our speaker gift, Libertine Blends Tea and Coffee Supreme for your drinks this morning, and all good oat milk. We've got Whanake Bakery, who's come on in the last couple of months as our bread supplier for your delicious toast. We've got peanut butter from 40 Thieves, Bad Baker for your breakfast cookies, Colourcraft for your labels, and Dough Bakery for probably the best gluten-free loaf in Wellington. Just putting that out there. $2.57 for this amazing space. If you haven't been here before, do have a wander around and check it out. It's a wonderful co-working space. Shout out to our guest photographer today, Ricky. Thanks, Ricky. And we've got Andy today on video. Thanks, Andy. Ethan couldn't make it today, but he sometimes helps out with video as well. And also to the rest of my amazing volunteer team, they make sure that you have coffee and toast and they kind of help out throughout the month as well. Couldn't do it without you. If there is anyone out there that's like interested in volunteering, come and have a chat afterwards. I'd love to hear what you'd like to do. So this is something I haven't done for a long time. This is the Creative Mornings manifesto. So essentially we have a global manifesto that I wanted to share with you today, but I want to make it a little bit interactive. So the first line and the last line we're all going to say together, and then I'm going to split you into 3 groups. So let's say the 2 tables at the back, so the 2 wooden tables at the back, and then the back row right across, you are group 3. This half of the room, bar that back row, 1. You folks, 2. So 1 at the front, 2 at the front, 2 back tables, and back row, 3. Let's see if this works. So the first line is, and this is for everyone is creative. Perfect. So we'll throw it to our back group for the next one. Can you see it?
Yeah.
This is my next question. Okay, cool, fantastic. 1, 2, 3. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. Beautiful. Throwing it to this group here. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. I high-fived Ricky before, had a hug from Karen, living the dream. Throwing it to this group in the front here. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighbourhoods and cities around the world. And all together, everyone is welcome! Fantastic! That was better than I imagined. Could have gone so poorly.
You doubted.
I was doubting me and my vision. That's what I was doubting. And that brings us to the conclusion of my spiel. So a warm round of applause for our special guest today, a voiceover artist, and someone that's going to share her Crossroads journey, Rachel Simon. One moment for technical things. Hold that side. Yeah. There we go. Whoa. Hey. Wait for it, then put it across. Yeah. We did test this before, just putting it out there. Yeah. Come. Here we go.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko te rana, rawa ko tia mana, te whakapukarana mai. Engari, ko mangawhau, ke tamaki makaurau te whenua tupu, ko karori, te whanganui atara, te kainga. Ko Rachel Tukuwengawa, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora.
Kia ora everybody, my name is Rachel Simon. I'm 52 years old, and at the age of 47 I decided to set up a voice studio in my basement and become a voiceover artist. Today I'd like to tell you my story, how I found myself at that crossroads in the first place and what gave me the courage to go for it. But first of all, I'd like to provide a little bit more context and tell you a little bit more about me. As you may have picked up from my pepeha, I was born and raised in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. This is me, about 18 months old, trying to put in my mother's curlers all by myself. Not really succeeding. I put this photo in here because it's cute. Fast forward about 14 years and I'm an awkward teenager with glasses and braces. I go to Auckland Girls Grammar, and at this point in my life my passions are drama and acting, and that plays a role in the story later on. I then go to Auckland University and do a degree in English and Art History, and after that I do the typical Kiwi thing where I save up my money and go off on my 2-year working holiday visa to the UK. I think at the time if I could just stay away for a year it won't be too embarrassing to come home after that. I was terrified. But as it happened, once I got on that plane and got there, any Crossroads that happened to present itself to me, I just seemed to take, and I didn't in fact return to New Zealand to live for another 7 years. This is me in front of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. I lived on a kibbutz in Israel, up in the Golan Heights. We made gumboots. This is the gumboot factory that I worked in. Then a friend of mine said, hey, why don't we have a winter living in Lancashire in Blackpool? I don't know that it was the finest Crossroads I ever took, but certainly one that I will never forget. I then went and put tents up for English tourists up in the north of France, in Normandy and Brittany, and here's a photo of me in Paris. I then did do the typical stint in London. I then moved to Nottingham, a great city. I then moved back to London, and then eventually, after 7 years, I did move back to New Zealand. By this point in time, most of my family had moved down here, so I moved to the capital. It was in the capital that I met my partner, and we moved to Melbourne. And then finally, 16 years ago, we settled back here in Wellington. I live in Karori, and this is a photo that I took at the top of Makara Peak. I love walking, I love all the bush around us, and I love all of the native birds. So as you can see, I've not been afraid to take a Crossroads if it came and presented itself to me. I liked a bit of adventure. But the decisions that we make when we're 27 are quite different to the decisions that we make when we're 47. We've got a mortgage, we've got a family, and a lot more self-doubt. So when I was thinking about this theme today, I thought the underlying story that I actually want to convey to you is this. If you have the support around you, you can pretty much do anything. And so before I really get into it, I just want to explain to you what I feel my 3 core foundation stones are that kind of help me be me. This is my partner, Corin. This year we're celebrating 20 years together.
Yay!
She is my rock, she's my best friend, and even though we've never worked together, she has, for some reason, absolutely unequivocal, undying belief in my professional ability.
Such a show.
I don't really know why, but I don't know if you're anything like me, but I've suffered a lot of imposter syndrome throughout my marketing career for sure. And so whenever I've had a moment of self-doubt, Corin has been there to say, no, you're good at what you do. You wouldn't be where you are today if you weren't good at what you do. But I have always felt like perhaps I'm going to get found out as being a fraud. So when I said to Corin, look, I've had this crazy idea, I think I might like to set up a business as a voiceover artist, she said, okay, how are we going to make it happen? This is our 16-year-old son, Josh. He brings that youthful spirit to my life, that 27-year-old that was happy to just go for it and see the opportunity and not dwell on all the things that possibly could go wrong. Well, of course, Josh is at that stage of life. He doesn't have to worry about a mortgage or a family. And so the idea of being a voiceover artist just sounds like a cool idea, and why wouldn't you do it? And of course, we do have things to consider when we make big life changes, but sometimes it's just good to be reminded of the opportunity, right? I think also as a parent, you want to set a good example for your kid, and you want to make them proud of you. So if you can come up with an idea that involves taking a bit of a risk, but you create a thing and you enjoy a level of success from it, then that's a really great motivator. Finally, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Judith Simon. This is my mother. She's 93 years old, and in 4 days' time she's going to be 94. My mother had me when she was 41 years old. My mum and dad already had a 16-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old son. They had taught in rural schools all around the North Island and had raised both my brother and sister whilst working full-time. By the time I came along in the 70s, she thought I might have a go at being a full-time parent, see what this is all about. But it turns out that I was a very settled child and I was very obliging with her routines, and she got bored. So she enrolled in university, and during my upbringing she did her BA, her MA, her PhD, and went on to become a university lecturer. So if anybody has set the exemplar of what you should do when you come across a crossroads, it's my mother. And any sense of grit and tenacity that I may be able to sprinkle throughout my story, I would attribute to her. So, there you go, a whistle-stop tour of me. Let's get on with it. How did I find myself at this crossroads? Well, at this point in time, I've been on a very long, straight road for about 5 years, and that long, straight road is called Open Polytechnic. And the reason I've been on that long, straight road for 5 years is because I love my job. I work in the marketing team, and I love what Open Polytechnic stands for. And the place feels like family. For those of you who don't know, Open Polytechnic is New Zealand's leading provider of flexible online distance learning. At any one time there can be 35,000 learners studying with Open Polytechnic, and over 80% of those learners are studying part-time as they fit it in around their busy lives. They can only study with us, otherwise they wouldn't be able to study. And if they are able to study and get qualified, they can apply for better jobs, and they apply for better jobs and get them, they earn more money, and they change their quality of life. So it's meaningful work, and that meant a lot to me. Also, when I started at Open Polytechnic, there was about 300 staff. So it was big enough that it had cool resources to do some good stuff, but small enough that it felt like a family. Christmas party all together, love it. And about 5 years into it, Open Polytechnic had reached the largest crossroads of its own. It had made the giant decision to move all of its learning materials from being paper-based to being online-based. Now this was a huge undertaking. They built a learning management system to do it, and then undertook the huge task of migrating all of the content across. Now one of the downsides of learning by distance is that it can be quite a lonely experience. You've got your printed materials there, it's quite isolating. But one of the benefits of being able to move it all online is that you can provide warm, friendly, inviting, welcome videos to make your learners realise that they're not alone, you're part of a community, and you've got great resources that you can provide to help them. And that's exactly what Open Polytechnic decided to do. They decided to put welcome videos at the start of their courses, and they went out to all staff and said, hey, would anybody like to be a presenter at the start of these courses? Well, that 13-year-old with glasses and braces, who had been dormant inside me for a very long time, woke up and said, oh, yes, yes, you can do this. I think you'd be really good at it. Please, please, will you audition? And so I did audition, and I'm pleased to say I was selected. I mean, a lot of people were selected. That wasn't easy. But I was selected. And this is one of the first ones that I ever did. And let us hope that it works.
You have chosen to commit your passion, expertise and sheer hard work to help design and deliver services that are fundamental to the quality of life of many New Zealand citizens. They need and have the right to the highest possible quality of service. Your participation in this course is testament to your commitment to that kaupapa. In this course, you'll explore the impacts of funding and service design through a critical lens, so you can be a facilitator of quality services built and grown within an evaluative framework. Haere pai.
So, it turns out that I wasn't too bad at doing this. It turns out that I was very natural at reading an auto cue. I was very happy to take the direction from the design team to deliver the type of tone and performance that they were after. And probably most importantly, I didn't make too many mistakes in the read, so they were able to get their final performance in the can pretty quickly and move on with the next step of the production. And as a result, I started getting asked by the design team to do more and more of these. Tanisha's there. She knows this part of the story. And so I ended up nipping out from my marketing job and going over to the studio and doing more and more of these recordings. And of course the remit of the design team grew. They started creating in-course content. They were doing explainer videos, explainer animations, and I started doing a lot of the voiceovers for those too. And I was really, really loving this. And one day, the design team said to me, you know, you were really quite good at this. You should like set up a studio and do it as a job. Whew. Wow. It was like a light bulb had gone off in my head. I'd never ever considered that I could do something cool and creative like that. And to hear that suggested from a load of creative people that I held in high esteem meant a lot to me. And that imposter syndrome that I had felt with my marketing career to date, you know what, it just didn't exist with this idea. Now I cannot tell you how empowering that is, because when I thought of myself as a voiceover artist, I thought, I can do that. I am capable. And that was quite an empowering moment for me. But what am I thinking about? Come on, Open Polytechnic, great job, meaningful work, love the team I work with, and it feels like a family, steady income. What am I thinking? I wouldn't want to disrupt that, right? But the other part of the equation, working in the marketing department, you know, we engage with a full service agency, and occasionally we would get content created that I thought was fairly straightforward content, and it seemed to take a long time to get delivered. It seemed to cost us an awful lot of money, and it might only be in market for a week or a month. And I thought, could there be a faster, cheaper way to deliver that? Because not everybody can afford to engage with a full service agency, right? And maybe there are businesses out there that could benefit from what I have to offer. So suddenly, I had three things going round in my head. An idea that felt really, really great, but a job that I really loved, but a possibility that maybe there was a gap in the market for what I could offer. So I guess you could say I found myself at a crossroads. But is it a crossroads, or is it just a good idea? I mean, we all have good ideas, right? But we don't always do anything with them. For years I've been saying that Karori should get a laundromat. Okay? The closest laundromats were in Newtown or Johnsonville. And Karori, one of the largest suburbs in Wellington, didn't have a laundromat. But did it ever get past me just barking on about it to anybody that would listen? Well, yes it did. Somebody did open a laundromat. It wasn't me. It wasn't my Crossroads. It's a great laundromat. So I guess I had to decide, how was I going to move this forward into becoming a thing? Who was I going to talk to about it? And what would it even look like? So the first thing I decided to do was go and see a careers coach. I went and saw Lucy from Luminous Consulting, and she really helped me understand the difference between being good at something in your job and being good at something in your job and it fueling you. Okay, it's one thing, you can actually be quite good at your job, but it doesn't actually do anything for you. And so she helped me tap into the key drivers, I guess, for who I am. And obviously helping people, turns out, is really important for me. Meaningful work is important to me, which is obviously why OP was such a good fit. But I am happy to work alone and be self-driven. I'm organised and I enjoy making decisions. I'm happy to make the call on things. And I enjoy generating ideas and dealing with people. It also turned out that I do like a performative aspect. I do want that. I do want that performative aspect in my work. Also, she, as a businesswoman, took a look at my business idea and believed that it had legs, so it was great to be validated by somebody who was a professional. However, what also came out from my coaching is that I was very, very risk-averse when it came to money. I'm not an entrepreneur who's willing to mortgage the house on a great idea and see how it pans out over the next 5 years. So where we arrived at was, the ideas got merit, probably got the right kind of character to deliver it, but you're scared to do it on a financial level. How are you going to make it happen? So she suggested that I reduce my hours at Open Polytechnic to keep some revenue stream coming in and carve out some time to explore this idea. It seems so obvious now. She said the next step was to go back home and talk with Corin about how much of a risk we're willing to take and for how long. So Corin and I did just that. We crunched the numbers and decided that I could work 3 days a week for 2 years, with the intent that obviously over that 2-year period the money starts to get come in via the voiceover stream. So my idea had been validated, we had a financial way of doing it that we were both comfortable with, and so the next step was to go to Open Polytechnic and see whether they'd allow me to drop my contract down to 3 days a week. And if they didn't, then I had to make the decision, do I quit OP or do I get rid of this idea? So I'm pleased to say I went to Open Polytechnic, and being the amazing place they are, they accommodated me. And by the end of 2019, I was down to 3 days a week. So the support starts to take shape, okay? My careers coach, my partner, and my employer. So very exciting. By the end of 2019, I can say I was a web marketing manager 3 days a week and a voiceover artist 2 days a week. Woo! But of course that's not quite true, is it? I'm a web marketing manager 3 days a week, and I just have time 2 days a week. There's nothing there. To date, my voiceover experience had been enjoying this regular stream of content coming through from Open Polytechnic. Being asked to come in as the talent, deliver my performance, walk away, and then this beautiful piece of content would miraculously appear a few weeks later that I could say I had some part of contributing towards. But now, I had to create a studio. I had to buy the equipment. I had to understand what that equipment even was. I had to learn how to use the software. I'd never recorded voiceover in my life. I had to learn how to edit. I had to learn how to get rid of pops and clicks and plosives. All new to me. I had to learn how to set up a business with MB. I had to figure out how I was going to manage my invoicing. I had to build a website or get a website so that there was a shop front of some kind. I had so much work to do. And so those 2 days a week to begin with were just a massive, massive steep learning curve, and this is where a huge amount of support came in to help me realise this dream. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Chris Callis. I don't know if any of you know. Yeah, you know Chris, yes. An incredible 2D animator here in Wellington. Amazing support from Chris. If you're not familiar with his work, please do check out his website, chriscallis.com. Chris had recently gone out on his own as a freelancer, and so was very supportive of my idea to do this, and was amazingly helpful at the beginning with helping me choose all the equipment, because I didn't know anything about microphones or speakers or audio interfaces, what the hell is that, and headphones, all of that. So within the budget that Corin and I had worked out I had, he helped me get set up with really amazing equipment, and then he helped guide me how to set that up in my studio. He then created my very first show reel for my website, which of course was very Open Polytechnic orientated at that point. Then Ronnie, one of the designers at work, gave up a lunch break to take some photos for me in the studio at work that helped form the basis of my website. And I still use a lot of this imagery to this day. He probably doesn't even remember doing this for me, you know? For him it was probably such a small thing, but for me that was such a massive gesture of support, and I'm so very grateful. Dinesh. Okay, Dinesh, an animator at the time at OP, had done, I think I'd done a voiceover for a construction video, and she had done the animation for that video, and she said, hey, I made one of the characters in the likeness of you. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Showed me the character, and I said, that is so cool. There's no chance you could like clear cut that for me, and that could be used as my logo. I absolutely love it. I always get good comments on it. It makes people feel good. And to this day, it's still the logo, as you will have seen from the business cards. Does anybody here use Henry? Yes, isn't it amazing? You know, I just loved Henry. I wasn't in a position, I had nothing at this point in time, so to be able to sign up to something big and expensive like Xero was out of the question. I absolutely loved Henry because, of course, part of this journey here is about making me look professional, right? And this is also a really important part of it because my invoices look professional, my quotes look professional. Henry will chase up late debtors for me. People can pay by credit card through Henry, and I could not afford to offer that service. If I am invoicing somebody from overseas, I can change the settings to accommodate that. I love it. So that's definitely a huge part of my support tools to make this happen. Then I had to get a website. And I have to say I'm quite pleased I managed to build that website myself. I guess all those years as a web marketing manager I at least knew how to do the basic information architecture of a website. Probably for those of you who are very visual designy people, you'll be horrified at the functionality of my website. But I know that it does the job. I know that it's optimized for search engine, and you know, over 95% of the work that I get through the website, so it's doing the job. Finally, I had to learn how to record the voiceover and edit the voiceover and prepare the voiceover. Everybody in my support network at that point in time were Creative Cloud users, so I didn't even research using any other tool other than Adobe Audition. I'm terrified of Adobe products. I just associate them with very kind of creative, inspirational people, and I do not see myself in that same camp. I know they're very powerful tools that do a lot of powerful things, and seeing, you know, I just see a Photoshop, it's all these layers and layers and layers, and so I was very nervous about learning this, but I knew I just had to get on and do it. And the key tools I used to do that was LinkedIn Learning and endless YouTube. I would highly recommend LinkedIn Learning. It is a really fantastic tool for real deep dive courses on whatever software tool you're needing to learn. So once I had got the studio sort of built and had my website built, probably the most time I spent was learning how to use Adobe Audition. I would just practice doing single tracks, doing multi-tracks, adding music, and learning how to edit out all those clicks and plosives, and also how to apply filters to make my voice sound even sort of richer and better. So that was a key thing, and here is my studio.
Cool.
Okay, you know, it's small. It's probably like the size of a standalone toilet room, but it does the job. And for those of you who are geeky about audio, this is the kit that I have. This is purpose built for voiceover. You wouldn't be doing podcasts or recording, you know, your band's latest song in here. But it's great for me because I can be standing there and recording and then sit down immediately and double check the audio. So it's a very seamless and well-oiled machine for what I need it to be. So my support has now gone from this to this. You're probably horrified by this very basic PowerPoint. I'm sorry. Anyway.
No apologies. No sorries.
No sorries. Okay, so it's 2020. I've built my studio and I've built my website and I've learnt my Adobe Audition, and I've been cold emailing as many kind of videographers and animators and small agencies and e-learning providers that I can think of, and I've put it out to the universe on LinkedIn. And of course I'm just waiting, and yes, there's a global pandemic happening at this point. We won't go into that. But in fact, we will a little bit, because I do in fact get my first gig. somebody from LinkedIn reaches out to me and says, hey, I see that you're doing voiceover now. I work for an online therapy platform. We created a free therapy program for people who are struggling with the lockdowns and COVID-19. It's going to be a 15-second advert that we need. It's going to be on the socials, radio, TV. How much would you charge? We'd like to give you the job. Oh my God, I've got my first paid gig. How much do I charge?
What a question.
How much do I charge? You know, I didn't really know. All I knew is that my proposition was, you don't need to be paying for a studio hire or for a sound engineer. I can do the whole lot for you. So I kind of just looked around and saw what studio hire and studio engineering might cost. I made sure that I was cheaper than that, and I put on a figure that I thought I was happy doing the 15 seconds for, and they accepted it. Generally speaking, I know it seems so loosey-goosey, but that rule of thumb has tended to work for me, and I've now really kind of found my sweet spot for where I charge people, and I'd say probably 90% of quotes that I do convert into the job. Anyway, I got the job, and of course I started to totally freak out. I completely freaked out because I was like, well, what if I screw this up? You know, this person has given me this job in good faith. I'm saying I can provide a service, but what if I can't? What if actually somebody can hear lots of noise in the background and the recording isn't up to standard? What if there's a whole layer to this recording thing that I just never knew about because, I don't know, I just didn't believe that I could do this? What if I didn't provide the file correctly and they weren't able to open it? Or what if some cool creative person from their place rang me with a whole load of Adobe technical questions that just went gobbledygook to me? What do I do? I just started to freak out. Now, for those of you who watch RuPaul's Drag Race, the two words inner saboteur may be familiar to you. The inner saboteur is what RuPaul says to people when he can see their potential, but their own mindset is holding them back. He says you need to get rid of that inner saboteur. And I guess that's kind of parallel to this whole imposter syndrome, right? And I just thought, nah, I am not having it. I am not having that imposter syndrome in my business. So I told that inner saboteur to go away. And when I looked at what I sort of visualised as the pipeline of the work, you know, the recording and the performance and the editing and the delivery, I sort of thought, for some people the hardest part is the performance. You know, that's the hardest part to learn. And that's the one bit that I'm 100% confident I can do. So focus on that. All the rest can be learned. And so I got down and I did it. It probably took longer than any other voiceover I've ever done. 15 seconds. But we got there, and this is it.
Vital. Help is only one click away. Introducing Staying on Track, a free online therapy course to support your well-being during this time of uncertainty. justathought.co.nz/COVID-19.
Yay! First paid gig recorded in my basement. And I tell you what, when I was watching The Chase and then that ad came on TV, that was a real buzz. Okay? I was like, man, I created a pipeline and some stuff's come down and it was awesome. So, the support to believe this will work, it just keeps on growing. I've now got my first paid gig. And after that, things do start to gain momentum. In the first year, I had 6 billings. I had 2 from the Just a Thought guys, Forest and Bird, Signa, Internet NZ, and TransDev. Well, as you can see, my thinking that small businesses might want to access my service, these are not small businesses in my mind. I think what I came to realise is that the face of agency work is changing. Forest and Bird and TransDev had their own creative capability in-house, and so they just needed the voiceover. They did all the rest themselves, so they came directly to me. But Signa and Internet New Zealand came to me via small boutique agencies. It kind of dawned on me that there are agencies out there that work closely with the client, nut out that creative idea, and maybe do some of the production, but then a lot of other parts of the production are outsourced. And I thought, well, great. I'm happy to be a part of that equation. I also started adding a few more tools to support me. I started using HubSpot's free CRM to help me manage all of the people that I was cold emailing and also all of my clients. It hooks in with my Gmail and it automatically sucks in all of that information directly into HubSpot so I can keep track of my relationship with everybody. I can do triggered marketing, automated emails off the back of it, all from the free tool. I also set up a Kanban board on Trello just to help me with my workflow. Now, I know that probably these aren't industry standard tools for the creative industry. I know Slack is very much a tool that's used. But I kind of, again, had another empowering moment where I sort of thought, this is my business. I can use whatever tools I want, right? And if my business outgrows those tools and I need to revisit it, I'll just do it then. But at the moment, I just wanted to do what felt right for me. And it kind of got me thinking about that whole imposter syndrome. You know, when you work for an organisation, they have to make a decision about what tools are used to help processes and policies work right, but maybe they don't always suit all of our ways of thinking. And as we learn more about neurodiversity, I guess we all think in different ways. And maybe part of my imposter syndrome has been that I just don't understand or feel comfortable with all the tools. But I can make myself, I can use my own tools and that I do feel comfortable with, so I was pleased about that. So the support keeps growing again. I think we just need to remember, people want to help you. People want to see you succeed. And there are fantastic resources out there. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about some of the interesting gigs that I've had. I'll just read this one out to you. How's this for home studio realness? Got the gig through a company in Christchurch. The advertising agency that chose me was based in Sydney. Their clients were based in both Sydney and Auckland. All zoomed into my basement home studio in Wellington to direct me remotely and review collectively on the fly. All the while I had dinner cooking in the oven for the whānau upstairs. Started at 5 p.m, done and dusted by 5:40 p.m, dinner on the table.
Nice.
The future of work. Now the crazy thing is that was for MG Autos, right? That was recording a TV advert for one of their plug-in EVs. Can you believe it? From my basement. It still blows my mind. But like the face of work is changing, right? The whole 9 to 5 thing, it just doesn't exist anymore. Some of the other interesting gigs that I have is if you go to Wellington Zoo and a lion or a tiger escapes, the emergency messaging you will hear.
Yes. Maybe we'll never hear that.
Hopefully. If you go up to the Waikato and go to the Hamilton Gardens and do an audio tour, I'm one of the horses on that, right? Some of the other interesting things I have, well maybe not so interesting but quite lucrative, is on-hold messaging. Hi, you've got through to such and such, press 1 for such and such. The great thing about these, whilst they're somewhat boring to do, is that if they want to change any of their messaging, they want to keep the same voice. Want to return traffic, so yeah, that's great. And another unexpected consequence of all this is overseas clients who have global content that they'd like to get revoiced with a New Zealand accent. Oh, hey. No. Fail.
Yeah, you got it.
How do I press play? No.
But you have to do it with your mouse. Sorry. My remote's the simple one.
You never know how far one idea will go and who it will impact. Like her, her family, their community, our planet. At Deloitte, we measure ideas by the impact they'll have. Because why work so hard to find solutions if it doesn't make a difference in people's lives? Why connect or innovate or engineer anything if not to make an impact that actually matters? No matter who you are, where you are or where you're going. Deloitte is there, and even there. We are dedicated to helping people and organisations solve problems, to know faster, to grow further, to go from red to black to green. Creating impact where it matters most.
So there you go. Recorded in my basement. Like, what the hell? That just, again, just blows my mind. So my careers coach had said I like variety, and 100% this job is meeting that brief, right? So, where am I at now? Well, I just wanted to give you just a screenshot to show you some of the selection of clients that I have done work for. I'm pretty stoked with that, to be honest. I now actually only dedicate 1 day a week to what I'm doing. And I'm back at Open Polytechnic 4 days a week. Because with COVID and the advent of working from home, I was able to do my OP job 2 days a week from home, and I'm able to fit in any recording that I need to do on my breaks. So why give up another day of salary? Again, it's that working smarter, not harder. So the amount of time I'm able to put to VoiceOver NZ hasn't changed, because I'm able to fit it in around my other work. And now that the sort of steep learning curve is over, I'm able to just focus on doing the delivery. So am I building an empire here? Not really. But I'm having fun. And I'm finding it really, really empowering, and I think you can probably tell that. It really is feeding a creative gap that I think I'd forgotten that I had. And that's really important to me. In the future life or world, I would love to do voicing for the gaming industry, something a bit more creative. So if there's anybody here that has any advice how I would get into that, I'd love to talk. But I do also worry about how AI might disrupt this whole thing. At the moment, it's not too bad in New Zealand, and luckily a lot of the voiceovers that I do often have an element of te reo in them, and I don't think AI is quite there yet. But we'll get there, right? So some part of me is like nervous about investing heaps into this only to find that it becomes a thing of the past. Sometimes I think if I wanted to build this business significantly, I'd need to rethink my business model to include more voices, because not everybody wants a middle-aged Pākehā woman to voice their content. However, my key kind of proposition is that I can turn it around really fast because the studio's in my own house. And if suddenly I was having to schedule other voices, that might get undermined somewhat. So I'm nervous about that. I'm nervous about how I can grow it. But what I do now is very profitable. So if I just get more of what I do now, I'd be onto a good thing. So I guess you could say I'm at my next crossroads. So in conclusion, I would say that if you're at a crossroads and you want to make a change, go for it. Explore the idea, because you don't have to have all of the answers up front. Goodness me, I pretty much just iterate on the go. And I think possibly I used to think that was a weakness in my character, but now I actually see it as a strength. You never have to do it on your own. You'll be amazed at what the support and tools are around to help you. And people will see you succeed. I had this kernel of an idea and I ran with it, and now I have a thing. I actually have a thing. I'm so proud of that, and I'm grateful that I decided to make the turn at the crossroads. So now I have this new crossroads. How do I try and grow this to the next level? I don't have all the answers. What I do know, if I keep talking to people, something will present itself. And one of the first steps was brainstorming this with friends and colleagues. And I want to thank Sarah Wade for suggesting that I talk at a Creative Morning session and for putting me in touch with Christine. And thank you, Christine, for believing that I would be a good fit for this forum. So just keep talking to people about your ideas. You'll be surprised at the support around you to help you make it happen. please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for your time. Ngā nui.
We have a little bit of time for a couple of questions, and then we've got to wrap up just because we've got another group coming in here today. So if anyone has any questions, feel free. If not, I'm sure, do you have a little bit of time to hang around out in this area?
Sure.
If people have any extra thoughts? No? Not today? Oh, here's one. Okay.
Have you ever done anything like audiobooks?
I have not. I've had a few inquiries to do audiobooks. I'm a little bit nervous about it because the bulk of audiobooks are with the intention, if they're self-published, to go through Amazon. And the tool that they use has so many constraints that I'm technically nervous that I would spend all the time recording it only to find that it's not accepted by Amazon on a technical level. So I've been nervous about that. I did have somebody from Simon & Schuster approach me to see if I'd be happy to be on their books, and if that would have been the case, I would have just sort of been the talent and they would have managed all the technical file prep, because it's slightly different, I think, from other stuff. Yeah, so that's a very waffly answer for me.
But there's Libby.
There is Libby.
Yeah, the library app that you can listen to books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they still buy in those from the publishers, the audiobooks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also did have a friend who wrote a book and self-published it through Amazon, and then simply from a drop-down selected an AI voice and just like that had their audiobook. So there's that as well. I think I much more would prefer to explore character roles in gaming. I think that would be heaps of fun. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That was really inspiring. I just wondered if you ever went back to that person that initially said you might have something here.
Yeah.
You could make this a thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever go back and say, look what you're helping do?
Dinesh is one of those people. One of the design team. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chris Callasy was one of the key players in that, and obviously we have worked together, and I am still at Open Polytechnic after all of these years, so still in touch with the current design team as well. Yeah, and I mean they have grown so much. They just use, I think, paid actors to come and do all of their stuff now. So they've long outgrown using OP staff.
I know.
Yeah.
We still have you, Rachel. Seriously, oh, please come back. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to learn more about how you spend your time in your recording studio, in terms of, is it just by yourself? Do you sometimes partner up with someone and all your admin work?
Yeah.
In terms of how much time is there required?
Yeah, so at the moment it has only ever been me in the studio. Oh no, there was one time that I needed to do a voiceover that had a young male in it, so actually my son Josh did the voiceover and I did the studio production, and that was kind of cool. And I was meant to have a gig for, I think, Ministry of Social Development, where they had a voice that they wanted to use and hire my studio, and then they got that all axed, the national government had said, nah, cut everything that you're doing. And so I was really looking forward to that opportunity of being a sound engineer, that I kind of felt I had the confidence to do that. But otherwise, most of the admin that I do is obviously still just trying to reach out to new contacts and touch base with existing contacts to see whether they've got any business coming up to remind them that I'm there. That doesn't come naturally to me, that hustle. That doesn't come naturally to me, that it has to be done. And then, of course, there's all of the admin around uploading all your invoices and bills and everything to Henry. But at the moment, with the amount of work I'm getting, that 1 day a week is enough to allow to accommodate that. But I do stuff in the evenings. Like we were away on holiday last week, not back until Saturday, and I had a guy email me on Thursday. He said, "Hey, any chance that you could do this voiceover? I need it by Monday." And I said, "Well," and I knew that I was going to be in Open Poly on that Monday. And so I said, well, I can record it for you on Sunday morning, so you can review it on Monday, and then I can tidy it up for you on Monday night. You know, and so I got the gig, you know, and that's how we did it, because I was able to do it at 8 o'clock at night, and, you know, it's the freedom of having that studio in my home.
You seem to be very efficient.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I think we'll have to wrap up here, but thank you so much for coming along this morning. Stay warm and dry and safe out there. And our next event, I believe, is on the 23rd of May, so it's actually in kind of not too far away. And we'll be doing something a little bit workshop-y again. So I hope you're looking forward to that. More details to come. Have a good Friday.